Hi, folks. Welcome to the Routing Loop, our weekly show that has everything to do with AWS networking. This is mine and Alex's first show of the year, so I don't know if it's
For
not
sure.
illegal still. It's January 14th to say Happy New Year, but Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I think it's still legal. In my books, it's still legal for sure.
Yeah, I keep telling people 10th of January. If you say Happy New Year after 10th of January, straight to jail. That's unacceptable.
What do you mean? I just came back from vacation on Monday. So, no,
Yeah.
definitely Happy New Year is acceptable the whole month of January for sure.
Do we want to do a quick intro for new folks that maybe haven't met us? But I see familiar faces already in the chat. Hey, Dominic, Ken, TechFueled.
Hello, folks.
Alex, you want to do a
Yeah.
quick intro?
Yeah, let's do it. Hi, folks. I'm Alex. Happy New Year. Totally acceptable in my books. I'm a principal networking specialist solutions architect at AWS and the AWS Networking Services team. And together with Tom and I are actually on the same team. We're also co-hosts of the Routing Loop show. So for those of you who are familiar with this show, we come here and we talk day in and day out, well, not actually day in and day out, but every week about all things AWS networking. Hopefully, not creating routing loops for sure. That is the goal. But yeah, really excited to be here and start the new year with you all. As I mentioned, I came back from vacation on Monday, so I'm ramping up slowly back to the grind.
Yep. Thanks, Alex. And for those folks who haven't met me, I'm Tom. I'm also a principal solutions architect focusing on networking. Same team as Alex. As Alex said, we're kind of working together quite a lot these days, and we are the co-hosts of the Routing Loop. We had a choice to call it the Routing Loop or the Spanning Tree Loop. I think the Routing Loop is still better because you can save yourself from the routing loops. Like eventually the TTL is going to expire, then you'll be okay.
If
Um,
I were to choose between a layer 3 loop and a layer 2 loop, I would always choose the layer 3 loop for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. If you're looping, you want to loop at layer 3. Um, I see there's questions about our channel schedule. I don't know if we officially added. We should be on the channel schedule. We are streaming every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. So that is, I think, 2 p.m. Eastern and
7 p.m. UK
7
time.
p.m. UK time. Yeah, so this is official. If you want to find out what's the upcoming stream, we do actually manage our own page, the Routing Loop, very simply called the routingloop.net, I believe, where we are trying our best to keep it up to date with the upcoming streams. At least a day or two before the stream comes up, we'll try to add the details in there. Sometimes on our end, it's a little bit of a scramble because we might be deciding at the last minute exactly what show we're going to do next week. So yeah, watch this space. And if you're following the Routing Loop page, there's an RSS feed there that you can subscribe to and you can get notified whenever there's changes.
And thank you, Dominic, for posting the link in the chat. Much appreciated. That's the link, routingloop.net.
Yeah, cool. And I see some
Oh,
folks from
one
Canada.
thing actually, one thing, we also have their past episodes. So for those of you who are asking about, hey, can we rewatch an episode? Yes, they're all linked there. Go just on top of the page in past episodes, click there. You'll see all episodes. I think we have all of them from 2025, right?
Yeah, we
Hmm.
have all 2025. We had a little bit of a drama for older episodes. We had a bunch of really good episodes prior to 2025. Unfortunately, there was a whole big cleanup of all of the content for a lot of the different channels. We could pick just a few episodes to save, and the rest had to get cleaned up. We are storing them in a different place now, making sure that they're going to be forever there. So hopefully, no issues in the future. Those videos are going to be there forever. So
Yep, yep, for sure. So seeing folks from Canada too, let us know in the chat where you folks are coming from. Besides the folks who we know and love here on the audience and our old friends of the show, let us know where you folks are coming from. Germany too. That's awesome. Oh, so it's pretty late for you. Thank you for joining us and thank you for sticking around for sure.
we're like the dinner show. Like you have your dinner and you watch stuff about networking.
Yes. Yes, not to take anything from the streaming platforms that do like nice shows in the evening. We don't want to mess up with their audience, but hey, our show is much better.
Uh,
Especially
all
that
right.
we're going to be talking about all reInvent launches, which I'm very excited about.
Yep, perfect. And I know, Alex, you this year at reInvent, you've done your usual session of like all stuff that launched with VPC. So we're going to dip into the deck you have to look at some of the launches, right?
Yes, before we do that, I just wanted to make a quick call out for those of you who are fans of the show and know the routing loop team. Up until this year is to do the advanced VPC design session with Matt. We've done it together for 4 years. Before that, Matt has been doing it for like 10 years. So it's a very long standing session at reInvent. This year, I took the reins from him, and I had the session with Andrew. So if you folks missed it, go ahead on YouTube. We'll post a link in the chat in a second. Have a look at it and let us know what you think in comments. Today, there's going to be a much more interactive version of that session, and we're looking forward to hearing your feedback, your thoughts, your questions about all these launches, and what you folks think about them, for sure. So should we start?
Yeah. Do you want to? Okay, perfect. It's
Oh,
already sharing.
let me bring up the whiteboard here, the presentation, and let's look at the first one: NAT gateway and regional availability modes. Super exciting launch, actually. I think a lot of customers have shared a lot of good feedback for this. What you can do now is, instead of creating AZ level NAT gateways, which are the classical way of deploying NAT gateways, you can create in your VPC a regional NAT gateway. This means that you don't need to create subnets anymore. You don't need to manage complex routing per AZ. You just create the regional NAT gateway, point your default route across all your private subnets to that regional NAT gateway, and you're all set. The regional NAT gateway still keeps traffic within the AZ. I think this is the most common question that I'm getting. The reason for it is because it automatically discovers where you have workloads in which AZs, and it spins up infrastructure in those AZs to make sure your traffic still stays within the availability zone for high availability and resiliency purposes, of course. So keep that in mind. Any questions?
So I have a couple, and I think that one of
Ooh,
I'm Eastern European, so I like to like pull out some of the
I'm Eastern
negative.
European
Yeah,
too.
yeah. The shot, so you know the drill. There's gonna. I always like to look at what are the sharp
For
edges,
sure.
what are the things to watch out for, and think about when you're launching these things. One of them I see already called out by Hitherings. So right now, one of the challenges with the regional NAT gateway is you can't use it in the centralized egress mode when, yeah.
Yes, please do share more of this feedback. Love it. Yes.
Yep. And then the
Um,
other thing, the question that I kept hearing from customers is like, does it change any of the pricing models, right? Is it, because now I'm not creating three individual, like if I have three AZs, I'm not creating three individual NAT gateways that I have to deploy in a subnet. I create this magical construct hidden away from me. I'm not using any subnets. Is there a cost implication to using a regional NAT gateway versus a zonal NAT gateway?
so the cost doesn't change. You still pay for the AZs where you have the NAT gateway, either in regional mode or in the ones that you deploy by yourself. The actual thing that is very important, and a lot of folks miss it, is the fact that this actually gets you to optimize your cost on NAT gateways, because what happens most of the times are two scenarios. One, you either deploy a single NAT gateway in a single AZ, and then across all the other AZs, you're sending traffic to this NAT gateway, and you have DTAZ, so data transfer cross AZ, that you start wondering, oh, where is this coming from and why? Which usually data transfer is much more traffic, like it's a charge that's bigger than the hourly cost. So it helps you avoid that cross AZ data transfer charge, because it actually helps you keep traffic within the AZ. And the other scenario is that you would usually go ahead and put your NAT gateways in each AZ, but then some of them would stay unused because you don't have workloads in those AZs, right? Maybe you've decided, okay, I'm going to start deploying NAT gateways one per AZ in US East 1, which means like 6 or 7. I don't even know how many we have right now. But then you have workloads in just 3 AZs because app teams decided to, whatever, just deploy in 3 AZs or just 2 AZs, and those NAT gateways stay there unused. So cost optimization.
So there's a question, and I can't remember if we have this publicly documented or not, in terms of how quickly the regional NAT gateway pops up in an AZ whenever you start putting resources in there, right? So say you have 2 AZs, you start using a third AZ, we would automatically provision a regional NAT gateway to cover that third AZ. I just can't remember. I think it's up.
I don't know what the time is actually. And I'm looking in the documentation. I
It
don't
says 60
see it.
minutes. We are
Oh,
documenting
60
it. Looks like
minutes.
it's 60 minutes. Once you initiate a resource, it takes up to 60 minutes for NAT gateway to appear in that availability zone.
60 minutes seems good. I feel like it's pretty decent. Like if you've deployed an EC2 instance for I don't know, for 30 seconds, you may not want to pay the NAT gateway cost in that AZ.
Yeah, and it looks like we're handling while we're waiting for it to provision in the third AZ, we would do cross-zone traffic flow.
Yes, and super important, you also have the manual mode for this. So you have the automatic mode where it automatically scales in and scales out and so on. But you also have the manual mode where you get to tell it, hey, just be in these 3 AZs because I know for sure that I have workloads in these 3 AZs and that's it. So you don't have to rely on the automatic process if you want to. Cool stuff. Next one. There's a lot of them. AWS Network Firewall, multiple VPC endpoints. This is not necessarily a reInvent launch. It happened throughout 2025. In Advanced VPC Design, we go through all the launches in 2025. A good refresher for those of you who've missed it. Now, for an AWS Network Firewall, you can deploy endpoints for this firewall across multiple VPCs. This helps you optimize on cost and optimize the use of that firewall policy applied to all VPCs that are needed. Just keep in mind, back to our Eastern European origins, that you do share the throughput across all these endpoints. So you have to make sure scaling is a consideration that you take into account. What else, Tom? What else am I missing here?
There's another question that I keep getting about this one is, what if I have overlapping address space in the VPCs where I'm deploying the endpoints?
Yes.
So technically that's supported. So interestingly, if you're forwarding traffic to the firewall for inspection, you can have overlapping address space. Where there's a challenge is that from a policy perspective, if you're setting up policies based on your source IP addresses, you currently can't differentiate between those VPCs. So the only thing that's getting passed to the firewall is the actual source IP address, which might be the same across all 3 VPCs. So if you want to have a different policy across different VPCs that have the same address space, that's currently not going to be possible.
Yeah.
And I see some callouts there. Techfield, you're right. The SSL decryption, I don't think that's currently, you're right, that's currently not supported for multiple endpoints.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Network firewall, more launches that happened at and very close to reInvent. Active Threat Defense or ATD, short, enabled by default in alert mode when you create new firewall policies. Partner managed rules. This was such an asked for feature, and it's now available. So you can go through the AWS Marketplace and select your partner of choice and use the rules they publish and curate and manage in your network firewall policy. Really, really useful. I think we've seen quite an interest from customer on this one, and a launch that I think we've actually talked through in a routing loop show. the enhanced console and monitoring capabilities. So if you folks are interested in diving a bit deeper into this one, go into past episodes on the routing loop and check out an episode that I hosted, and I think I hosted Victor on that. So
Yeah.
check that out.
I just also shared the blog for that active threat defense capabilities. That's super interesting. So it looks like we're constantly monitoring potential attacks using like honeypots
Mhm.
deployments. We have a name for it called matpot. So
Yeah.
instead of a honeypot, it's a matpot. It receives a lot of the attacks. So it's ultimately a honeypot that we use to learn about the attacks and then use these learnings in that active threat defense policy. And I think it takes 30 minutes, if I remember correctly,
Mhm.
from the moment we detect that there's an issue to actually the policies being updated across all the customers. So it's pretty cool feature that it's kind of learning the threats and then updating itself on the fly.
Yep, exactly. And last but not least, AWS Network Firewall Proxy, which is launched in preview. Looking forward for you folks to test it and let us know your feedback. That's the whole point here. Let us know in the chat if you've played with it already. This is a full blown managed service for proxy functionality. So if you folks are familiar with traditional proxies where you configure environment variables on the hosts and all traffic is proxied and policies are applied, that's exactly what this is. Fully managed with 3 layers of inspection: pre-request inspection, post-request inspection, post-answer inspection. DNS inspection there, or filtering, is also included. So in that pre-request piece, and yeah, it's super useful. You enable it on the AWS NAT gateway, because the NAT gateway is the one that does source NAT for those packets to be able to get out on the internet. And you deploy it as endpoints in your VPC. So you can, again, use a proxy instance for many of your VPCs if you want to, in a distributed model. Really exciting. If you folks look at the reInvent session, we also have architectures for both centralized and distributed, and the actual inspection flow steps detailed there.
Yep. And one thing I would call out is it's under the network firewall umbrella, kind of mostly by name, right? So network firewall is now becoming like a suite of things a little bit, where you have the traditional firewall, a next generation firewall, and now we have the proxy. But when you start configuring them, you'll notice that the policies are completely different. The way you can apply them are different. So I've had some customers ask, okay, so they just enabled it on the network firewall, but you don't. It's network firewall kind of API family, but ultimately you're setting it up separately as a dedicated proxy. And as Alex said, it integrates closer with NAT gateway than with the original network firewall or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah. Just a super quick call out. Given that it's in public preview, there's no cost for it. We will announce the pricing for it at GA, of course, because I see there's a question from X1 Autumn. The other thing is, from a deployment and testing functionality, highly recommend you folks play with the policies, and if you already have uh, proxies in your environments, either like Squid or Sophos or whatever other proxy vendor you're using. Check out how the policy translates, because that's an interesting one to test. And let us know in the chat. I think this is a good idea for us, given that we're going to have the routing loop throughout this year. And I think first we're going to focus on the top rated Chalk Talks at reInvent starting next week. But after that, let us know which one of these services you want a deep dive session on. Which one of these launches you want us to dive into. We'll take your feedback here in the chat and do the ranking. And that's how we're going to be planning some of these sessions that we have on the routing loop.
Yep. So I think the next few weeks might be taken over by Chalk Talks on Twitch. Those of you who were following the channel last year and maybe 2 years ago, We do like to pull chalk talks from reInvent that normally only hit whoever can make it to that chalk talk physically, right? So 60, 50 people maybe. And we bring them onto Twitch, and then anybody can join and ask questions. And it's ultimately the same session that you might have seen at reInvent, but now everybody has access. It's completely open with no gatekeeping, no entries. If 1,000 people join, everybody can ask questions, and we'll accommodate.
Yeah, for sure. One more launch throughout the year, not a reInvent launch, VPC route server. If you have interesting use cases for doing HA or floating IP for appliances in your VPC, this is a really interesting one. It works with the internet gateway, so route tables there. Let us know if you want it to work with other appliances in the VPC. For example, with VGW and other things that you may reference, or that the route server could have a BGP session with Cloud One, TGW, etc. This is, I would say, the feedback we'd love from you folks. Now, coming into the layer 3 connectivity or multi-VPC connectivity services, Transit Gateway supports network firewall attachment, direct attachment for east-west inspection. So keep in mind that this is for east-west inspection, as in VPC to VPC, not centralized egress-ingress. This setup does not work for that architecture as of today.
Yeah, I guess it works for egress, but then you're paying extra, right?
I mean, yes. I would not recommend you do egress with this, because essentially what happens is your traffic goes from, let me see if I can do this, from this VPC to the firewall attachment, then comes back to the transit gateway, and then goes to your centralized egress VPC. So not great from data processing perspective.
Yeah.
Cool stuff, and a launch from reInvent, which I'm personally really excited about, because I feel like I've been asking for this as a customer for many years, and then at AWS I've heard this from the customers. Flexible cost allocation on transit gateway. This means that, if you folks know, by default on transit gateway, the sender pays, right? Data processing is for the sender VPC attachment. Now you have the ability to do this either sender pays, receiver pays, or even per flow, which is really great, because depending on what applications are running in your VPCs, you may have this need to distribute the cost across multiple either clients or centralized services. So very, very cool feature. And I would say that this opens the door for us to focus on cost allocation, broader conversation around what other things you folks would want to see flexible cost allocation on. I have a list, by the way, on things that I would love to see this on, besides transit gateway. But yeah, let us know in the chat.
Yeah, I wonder if someone's already been looking at this, because it usually comes up in the large organizations, and the biggest pain is doing cost allocation on a shared attachment. So say I have a direct connect attachment on Transit Gateway, and I have 100 VPCs pulling a lot of data from on-premise. The account that's going to get charged for all that data is the account owning the direct connect, not the actual culprit VPCs. So it's a nice change that you can now say, for that direct connect attachment, don't charge the owner of the direct connect, charge whoever's pulling the data over that direct connect, charge those VPC owners. So even though the cost itself doesn't change, but I think that allocation means that maybe those VPC owners understand that, whenever they decide to download a terabyte or petabyte of data, that comes with a cost in their account.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to step back a bit, like 3 comments in the chat, because Xman Autumn had an input here that I would love to ask a follow-up question on it. So it says, I would love to see identity-based networking rules for security groups like in Cilium. What is the identity that you would want to match in security groups, like the IAM identity in there, the IAM role? What would you want to see as that identity base? What would be the identity? If you want
Spiffy,
to let us
maybe?
know. Dot. Oh, for sure. I mean, certs. We could go about this on and on. And the reason why I'm asking about this, Tom, is because we do have VPC Lattice, right? That has identity based access controls. Um, Interesting how you are thinking about this from the perspective of security groups. So yeah, let us know if you have more insights. Oh, we can do that with SIG before signing in VPC Lattice. Exactly. Yes, that's exactly what Lattice SIG before is for. So if that's what you're looking for, you already have an option for it. The other thing that I would love to call out, and I don't know if you folks have noticed it, given that it was not launched on the Networking and Content Delivery blog channel, but EKS launched advanced DNS policies for filtering and security. So now you have admin policies and you have cluster level policies that you can apply based on DNS. So that's also a complementary piece that you can use here if you are doing containers. So let us know what's missing there. Awesome. What else? What else? Let's see. VPC encryption controls. Tom, do you want to talk through this?
Oh, thank you.
I feel like I talk too much.
No, I think you're great. I like being the Eastern European complainer about calling out the challenges with everything that you're
Well,
introducing.
I want to be that too. I want to be that too. So go for it.
Yeah. So encryption controls, we launched that as kind of based on feedback from a lot of financial customers, public sector customers who were asking us to give some way to validate that traffic between resources inside of your VPC and beyond is encrypted at the network level. So you might be aware that if you select a certain type of EC2 instance, a Nitro-based instance, some of them do support instance-to-instance encryption, where we would add Nitro-level encryption that you don't have to worry about. We manage the keys, we manage the encryption, it's wire speed. So ultimately, your instance by default using that Nitro card is going to have its traffic encrypted in the network level where it's communicating to another instance. Now, this was available for a while, but there was never a way to be able to validate that that's enabled across all of your VPC, right? So if you didn't actually find out exactly which instances supported it, and then you didn't enforce that in IAM, what you ended up having is someone could provision an instance that does support encryption, another instance that doesn't support encryption. So you didn't really have this solidified way of understanding what's going on in your VPC. With encryption controls, it came with two features. One is an option to be able to monitor what's going on inside of the VPC, to say, hey, tell me what things in this VPC don't support that Nitro level encryption. And then you'll get a list of, hey, here's all your instances. Here are all the AWS services that you might have in the VPC that do not support Nitro encryption. And then you have an option to turn on enforcement mode. And that will not allow anybody to create any resource, whether it's AWS managed or whether it's an EC2 instance that you manage. You won't be able to create a resource that doesn't support Nitro encryption. Really useful for being able to prove to your auditors that, hey, encryption is done everywhere. It comes with some interesting things. So when you enable Nitro encryption inside of the VPC, it also tells us that some of the managed services that we're deploying on your behalf should also use EC2 instances under the hood that do support Nitro encryption. So you might find that if you're setting up a transit gateway or a load balancer, we would then make sure that if you have enforcement enabled, we will provision a load balancer only using nodes that support Nitro encryption. Super cool. There's already some customers using this, especially in the finance sector, to just ensure that you have encryption everywhere.
Does it work cross region on TGW
Yes.
peering?
Oh, so
And
I see the Eastern European complainer club.
see, I
So
told you exactly what to. I know what to ask. I know what to
yes.
ask.
So that's a good call out for cross-region right now. Using transit gateway peering, there is going to be a small gap in encryption. So even though transit gateway to transit gateway communication was encrypted for quite a while, so we added encryption at bulk whenever traffic was going between two peer transit gateway. And on top of that, we had another layer of encryption at the physical layer whenever you're leaving AWS secure facilities. So in many places, you would have multiple layer of encryption that we're adding. For that cross-region transit gateway peering, there is a small piece of that connectivity where it's not actually encrypted. So right now, we can't say that it's end-to-end encrypted, although majority of that path would be encrypted. Obviously, we are hearing feedback from customers, hey, we want that encryption end to end, and that's something that I know the service team is definitely looking at.
Got it. Cool. Okay. Love it. Let's proceed. Cross-region private link for AWS managed services, another super big launch. It is supported for S3, IAM, STS, I think. There's a whole list in the documentation. I don't know, Tom, if you remember any of those.
I can't remember top of my head.
But yeah, if you folks go look at that list and you feel that you want other services to be on that list, please let us know in the chat. Let your account team know. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Yeah, I got a funny anecdote about this one because we launched private link cross region first for 8 customer managed services, right? So that's been available for a while. And we were really kind of defending against doing cross-region for our own services because, at AWS, we have a very strict policy about regional isolation, making sure faults don't propagate across regions. So this is kind of changing those rules a little bit because now you have a service in region 1 and a way to access that service in region 2. And interesting feedback before this got launched from customers. Customers were saying, I know you guys don't want to mix the regions, but we end up doing it ourselves and making it worse. So if you can give us an offering that will allow us to do cross-region for S3 for all the other services, we know that's going to be better than what we can build ourselves and hack together ourselves. So I think eventually the service teams realize that and went with launching those services. And I think that's for the better, even though it is, breaking that model of, okay, now you have access to a service that lives in another region.
Well, I would add to that with great power comes great responsibility. So that responsibility is now on customers, on all of you folks who are building architectures and services using this feature, to keep in mind that you are creating a cross-region dependency. That is not in any way, shape, or form endorsed by AWS through this service. Like, we give you the capability of doing it. It's like with fire, right? You here's fire, use it wisely. You could use it for good purposes or for not so good purposes. So I would say keep in mind that whenever you are creating cross-region dependencies, you are introducing, from an availability and resilience perspective, some more hops there, some things that will be reflected in the performance of your application under certain circumstances, under failure circumstances. So keep that in mind. It doesn't mean that now everyone should go build cross-region architectures laxly, I would say. It only means that this is the way for you to address certain use cases. For example, having customer data in a region and your application runs in a different region. You don't want to go and redeploy the application stack and so on. So keep that in mind.
Yep. And there's a question from Ken related to pricing. I believe it's the same. You obviously have to pay the cross-region charges, but they're no different to the charges you had before if you had to cross-region. And then private link prices are still the same. So ultimately, it's just like adding up. It's kind of like building it yourself without having to build it yourself.
Yeah. Keep in mind just that the sender, so the one who's sending traffic through the endpoint, is the one that pays for the data transfer cross-region, for the data that goes to the remote region and for the data that comes back from the remote region. So obviously the AWS service is not paying for that on your behalf. So that's one. And two, keep in mind that you don't have service side for custom managed services, you don't have service side metrics. So actually, you have service side metrics, you don't have client side metrics in CloudWatch. If you folks want those, let us know in the chat. Good feedback. Let's see. My favorite topic, obviously. It only took 36 minutes until I pronounced the word IPv6. And yes, we have IPv6 support for gateway endpoints right now for S3 and DynamoDB. Exactly as it works for IPv4, it works for IPv6 as well. So as of this moment, if it's now is the moment that you're hearing about this for the first time, you have 0 reasons left to not do IPv6 on AWS. So please go do. Thank you.
Any caveats here? Anything that an Eastern European complainer could complain about?
Eastern European complainers. No, I don't think so. Except for the fact that VPC IDs are different, could be the same across regions. So if you have the bucket policy, for example, that references the VPC ID, you have additional condition keys that you can use. That's why it took us so long to do this, because we had to make sure that those challenges are addressed. Other than that, no, it's pretty straightforward. It works.
Nice.
Yeah. Lattice. Like, see, my favorite topics are like halfway through to the end.
At least we haven't said AI yet, so I think we might be okay. Though. I don't know.
You just did.
I just blew it.
I was hoping for like 55, 59 minutes of a session where we don't talk about AI. This is actually funny because we got a feedback on our session at reInvent that people were very, very happy that we went on for 60 minutes without mentioning the word AI. So it was very refreshing. So custom DNS for resources. So excited about this feature. What this means is that now when you define resource configurations, which can target IPs, ARNs, DNS names, etc., on those resource configurations, you can configure a custom DNS name, whatever DNS name you want that resource to have. And you take the resource, you associate it to a service network, and on the client side, on the client VPC side, either if the client is accessing the service network through a service network endpoint or a service network association, private hosted zones are automatically populated on the client VPC. So if your resource config is called existing feature database or something like that, when the client in this VPC is doing a DNS query to the VPC resolver, for existing features database.reinvent2025.com, the answer is going to come automatically. It's going to work. IP addresses of Lattice, which are documented, and you folks should know about the managed prefix list. That IP address is going to come back automatically, and traffic is going to flow through the service network to the resource config. So essentially, this means that you can define resource configs with a custom DNS, and we deal with the private hosted zone association under the hood on all client VPCs for that service network. Really, really cool.
Yeah, this is so cool. When I saw this launch, I kind of assumed that it's going to be similar to Private Link, and that you actually have to own the zone and DNS name that you're pushing to the users that create the endpoint, right? Because with Private Link, I had to own that domain, prove that I own it, and only then, and I was allowed to add it to my endpoint service. And then whenever someone created an endpoint, they would automatically have the host name created and overridden to point to the endpoint. With Lattice, it's so cool that I can just make up my own domain and say, I don't care. Just I don't need to prove that I own it. There's an option for that, and you can validate as a client to decide I only want to accept domains and host names if the owner of that host name proved that they own it. But I can also decide to accept any willy-nilly domains.
Yeah.
So it creates a lot of flexibility in how you can expose resources, and makes it super powerful that you don't really have to. You can do very interesting stuff with those overrides.
Yep. And one of the super interesting architectures, this is actually the reason why we fought a lot to get this flexibility to customers to say that, look, I can define whatever domain I want there, right? Like, just let me do it. Is because this now enables architectures like centralizing private link endpoints, for example, through VPC Lattice. And those custom resources can actually be the domain names of those private link endpoints, like sts.useast1.amazonaws.com.
Hmm.
If you folks go look at the presentation at reInvent on YouTube, you're gonna see there the architecture diagrams. So pretty straightforward. I have a lot of customers who've implemented it already. Pretty excited about it. Okay, let's see what's next. Resource gateway configurable IPs. Tom, do you want to talk through this?
So this is where you can now set up. I can't actually remember the details of what we launched there.
You
This is
can,
just the ability to change the IPs that the resource gateway is
yeah,
going to use.
yeah, you can define the IPs in the sense that before this launch, you had a slash 28 that was used by the resource gateway per AZ. Now you can configure whatever IPs you want. You can say, okay, this resource gateway needs to have just one IP or 5 IPs
Yeah. Okay. So
if
now I
you want.
remember. Yeah, we're changing the amount of IPs that you can use. So we're not automatically grabbing a slash 28.
Yeah,
Yeah. I had
yeah.
some customers run into issues when they were creating resource gateways and they didn't have enough contiguous address space in the subnet that they would be deploying the resource gateway in. So that would solve it, where they can just
Yeah,
switch to configurable IPs. Yeah, perfect.
exactly. And support for Oracle databases at AWS, which is powered by VPC Lattice. Really exciting. If I'm not going to dive super in depth into this one, but if you folks are using this, let us know your feedback.
Yeah. I
Pretty,
spend a
pretty
lot of time
exciting.
on that one, so that's near and dear to my
Tom,
heart.
do you want to talk through this?
No, I'm okay. Yeah, if someone's interested, they can ping us in the chat. I'm happy to talk more about this. But yeah, it's kind of interesting on how you can use Lattice for accessing different things from Oracle Database Network. We're kind of creating a special environment where you can host your Oracle Exadata virtual machines and databases, and then Lattice becomes just one of the connectivity options for connecting to and from those databases. So super interesting.
Yeah, it's
But a
really
very
cool.
specialized use case. So you already have to be kind of an Exadata customer and in the process of maybe deciding, hey, I might want to run my Exadata on AWS as ODB at AWS.
Nice. Tech Field here says that he used to be in Oracle DBA in his past life, so this makes him happy. Well, thank you for the feedback. Um, Okay, what else do we have? Application load balancer, a bunch of new things in 2026. Out of which I think the one that's most interesting there, and I would love to hear your feedback if you folks already tried it, is Target Optimizer. It's pretty cool for model training, inference kind of use cases where you want to have very clear control over how many tasks an instance is actually performing. So, how many tasks can be routed or requests can be routed by the application load balancer to the backend. Has anyone tried this? Let us know in the chat. It's pretty cool. I think it's one cool one. The other one is access token validator. So you can validate JOTs from the request header on ALB. Please raise your hand if you want the same thing on VPC Lattice. I'm gonna raise 2 hands here just to make sure. But yes, it's pretty cool features. Let us know if you've tried them out.
Yeah, the target optimizer, I haven't really seen any of my customers or customers I cross paths with use it, because I think it's a very specialized use case, right? Where you really want the targets to be able to notify the load balancer, hey, I get capacity to process. So it's really for these like larger jobs related to AI/ML. So I personally haven't had many customers, but I can see how, customers who are going through this, that's super useful for them, because prior to that, there was no way for the load balancer to have any way to indicate, sorry, for the target of a load balancer to have any way to indicate to the load balancer, hey, I can't take any more load, or I can take some more load. So it's an interesting way that it's been solved as well, because there's like a separate back channel where that the target is
There's an
using.
agent, yeah.
Yeah, the target, it's talking
Beautiful.
to the ALB and it's telling the ALB, hey, I got capacity, send some work my way. And it could be as
Yeah.
little as just one request at a time. So I can handle one really big request and I'll let the ALB know every time I need to deal with it.
Yep. And thank you, Ken. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, that needs to be on Lattice too. And for network load balancer, I see folks are excited about the love for ALB, not just for ALB, but also for NLB. The one that I'm most excited about is weighted target groups for sure. This has been an ALB feature for the longest time, and customers have asked for it. So now it's available on NLBs as well. So go build.
Yeah. I think the quick one is interesting as well if you have that use case. Yeah, I remember whenever we were launching it, I was curious as to what does actually mean, right? Because the NLB does support UDP and TCP out of the box, and Quick uses UDP. So it can already handle Quick, right? So I was always like, oh, we were launching support for Quick. I thought we already supported UDP, so what else is required there? And
Yeah,
this is
that
more,
connection ID load balancing is
yeah,
pretty important.
yeah. And the ability to keep track of that, right? So if I change my source network, let's say I move from a mobile to Wi-Fi to mobile, whatever that is, my quick ID stays the same so that the NLB is aware of that and can make sure that you keep going to the same target. So that's pretty cool.
Yep, exactly. API Gateway Developer Portal. Very exciting. Even if API Gateway actually is not necessarily that much in the networking space, I feel like in the past 5 years, I've had a lot of conversations with customers saying that they would love for API Gateway to have a developer portal. So here it is. Very, very cool. If you haven't played with it, go for it. It's a pretty nice experience. I actually went through before reInvent to create some of the slides for this. I went through the experience of actually creating my portal. Very, very, very neat. I love it. So would love your feedback. And one more thing on API Gateway, the recap of 2025 launches. MCP support. I saw Ken talking there about the in the chat about the MCP for networking. API Gateway now supports MCP, which is actually really interesting because it does protocol translation. So super useful if you have REST APIs, for example. To allow AI agents to access those. Private integration with ALB, so you don't need an NLB in front of the ALB anymore. You can just target directly the ALB. And response streaming. This has been such a big ask for such a long time, and especially with increasing payload sizes, this has been super well received. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I just shared a response streaming session from one of our
Nice.
colleagues, Giedrus, who's the API gateway expert. So it's a great session
Yes.
from one of the other Twitch shows where they went into details of response streaming and how API
That's
gateway
awesome.
deals with it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool stuff. CloudWeb security group referencing. Not a reInvent launch, but in case you missed it, you can reference security groups on Cloud WAN today. Keep in mind that they're still intra-region, not cross-region. But the other super cool thing about it is that you can reference security groups also cross segments. So that's a pretty cool one. Tom, have you played with this?
I haven't. I played with the referencing on TGW. I see a lot of customers who are using Cloud One because we made it so easy to insert a firewall stack in the path. Like majority use firewall stacks, right? The service
Yeah.
insertion is so easy with Cloud One. And then if you do use service insertion, the security group referencing no longer applies.
Well, it doesn't apply across segments, but still applies for intra-segment, right? So
Correct.
I would not recommend anyone to put all the traffic within a segment through a firewall. So if you want microsegmentation within a segment, this is great. Cross segment, sure, take it through the
Yeah.
firewall.
unless you're doing isolated and then you are inspecting everything even in the same segment. But you're right that that's
If
not
you
as common. That you're getting into a world of pain.
if you're printing money, do that. But yeah, otherwise, probably not. So advanced routing controls also super, super asked for feature. I love it. So you get all the BGP cool stuff on Cloud One now in the classical route maps translated into the Cloud One policy, of course. This is so exciting. So you can now filter routes, you can do as path prepending, you can play with meds and communities and all that stuff. So very, very cool. There's a bunch of blogs. I think there's also a session on this at reInvent. And I think last week, Matt and Sid talked about the same, right? So if folks missed that session, go back last week and have a look.
That's true. Yeah, it's on the routing loop. And Sid had some really good examples of the use cases where you can apply it. Like some of them were pretty challenging prior to this feature existing, like being able to enforce the decision of Cloud One on which next region to select for routing, because we had kind of non-deterministic behaviors there. So now you can influence whatever you want. That closes like pretty much all the challenges I've seen customers run into with the more complicated routing scenarios.
Yep, for sure. Love it. Love it. What else do we have here? Oh, I've been through this already. Here's some notes. Keep in mind that the BGP communities are supported over VPN and connect attachments, not DX yet. So those are important callouts. Site-to-site VPN. Man, we've had such a good year for site-to-site VPN. I'm feeling so excited. I feel like this year, no, not this year, 2025, we've delivered on a lot of features that customers have been asking for a very long time, and that make site-to-site VPN really exciting right now.
Yep, the high throughput was a big one. Everyone's been asking for like, give me more than 1.25, right?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the VPN concentrator piece too, where if you have many sites of low throughput, you can now use Transit Gateway as a VPN aggregator. Really cool. I feel like it's such a cool feature. And for Eero, I'm actually thinking seriously to change my router, get an Eero, and connect it to my Transit Gateway.
I have an Eero in my cabin for Wi-Fi.
Oh,
I love
really?
it. Yeah, I probably should move and get one for home. They're really good. So yeah, it's a good
Nice.
idea. Maybe I could connect it to my transit gateway too and get its whole proper setup.
Very cool. Very cool. You should use site-to-site VPN. AWS Interconnect Multicloud. Everyone has asked about this one. We have a full session about this. There was an earlier question around how you can now connect between AWS and your VPCs in GCP. For now, it's just with GCP. So keep in mind that with Azure is something that's still on the roadmap. I know we don't talk about roadmap in general, but we did talk about this one at reInvent. So rest assured, I'm not spilling the beans here. So for connecting to overlapping IP addresses, if you folks go back to Net 340 YouTube presentation, you'll see that right after Interconnect Multicloud, we have a diagram where you can use Cloud One and VPC Lattice to actually connect to resources and application endpoints that live in other cloud providers. For now, just Google. Really exciting, that architecture. We already have customers who are using it. So check it out, have a look at it. Uses resource configurations in VPC Lattice, uses custom DNS name for resource configurations in VPC Lattice. So it's actually a collection of features that we've launched that come together in a really, really nice way to help you build this. So really exciting.
Was that the
Now,
first time, Alex, that you think that AWS and GCP were on the same stage talking about a joint solution?
I am sure that was the first time. Yes, that was the first time. In case you folks missed the session, We had a session I presented together with Santiago, who's the PM for the service on our side, and with Judy, who's the PM for the service on the Google Cloud side. It was a very, very cool moment at the beginning in the audience, because people saw the title slide and they're like, what? You have Google here on stage at an AWS conference? So yeah, it was really, really nice. And Judy's been amazing throughout all this time. And we really appreciate the partnership with Google on this one. And the idea is to standardize cross-cloud connectivity. So we're hoping, if folks are going to look at that presentation, you'll see that the goal is for everyone to adopt this standardization that defines how cross-cloud connectivity is built, and essentially all cloud providers use it to provide connectivity for their customers to all other cloud providers. So it's not just an AWS thing.
I think we have maybe time for one or two more, Alex, because we're
yes.
like 3
Let's do
minutes
this
left,
really
probably.
fast. Let's do this really fast. I don't
Or
think I
let's
have
pick
actually.
one. Or let's pick one next one and just spend time on the next one. We don't have to rush.
Global Resolver. Do you want to talk through this? I think you've been closer to this.
Yeah, I have you don't have another slide after this one on it? Oh, yeah,
yeah.
perfect. There's some visual is always better. So prior to this, we only had the resolver endpoint. So you can only connect to the Route 53 resolver service completely privately from inside of your VPC, from on-premise, and it was on a region-by-region basis. With Global Resolver, we're launching a publicly accessible DNS resolution service. So you can connect from home to Route 53 Resolver service and get an answer. And behind the scenes, it's going to talk to Route 53 Resolver, and you can attach different things like DNS firewall to it, to set up private hosted zones. So you can control different behaviors of what you actually will respond to for those clients connecting from anywhere in the world, and they can come in from the public path. And then you do also need to authenticate. So this is not an open resolver like maybe the Google 888 or Cloudflare's 111. It is you do have to configure either CIDR-based access, or you use like a JOT token or bearer token to validate that you can actually do DNS resolution against the endpoint. But pretty cool. So it's going to be interesting to see how customers are going to be using it in production and then testing it out. It's right now, it's still in preview.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Well, that was about it. I think I have some IPv6 stuff around here. Just
We
a
can
few
skip
notes.
that. Yeah, we don't need the
Yeah.
IPv6.
CloudFront, flat rate pricing if you've missed it.
Oh, that is so cool, actually. Yeah, the CloudFront flat rate pricing, really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
IPAM, a bunch of features, out of which integration with Infoblox is really cool. And from IPv6 adoption perspective, really cool stats. So go do IPv6, I said.
Wow, we went through all the slides. This is amazing.
Yes, we did go through all the slides, and we still have like 30 seconds left.
Cool. All right, folks. Thanks everybody for joining. Alex, thank you for going through all these slides, and
thank you.
We'll see everybody next week. We're probably going to start doing Chalk Talks on Twitch, so next week might be one of the first Chalk Talks. I think from what I've seen on the agenda, we'll update the agenda whenever we can on the routing loop as well. But from what I've seen, I think we're starting off with some of Edge and CDN focused sessions, and then we might probably switch to more networking, traditional networking sessions.
Yep. See you guys next week.
Cool. See everybody.